Sunday night has returned once again, and that means it's time for another episode of the Auburn Experience podcast, the flagship show of what we do here at E2C Network. We're going to dive into episode 99. Lots to talk about, all kinds of news and major Auburn topics. Let's get into all those different things right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you could qualify it through a variety of methods, times, people, places, and things. But at its heart and at its core, it is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and of course, Auburn family. And maybe even to put a finer point on it, more simply, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. Since what we do is all about the Auburn family, let's gather in here. We've got you, the viewers, watching live. We've got you, the listeners, tuning in to the podcast. Now let's bring the co-host in. I am co-host number one. Kyle Loomis, as always, alongside me. My good friend and yours, Mr. Austin Scott, still sticking with me for 99 episodes.
99 total episodes. Isn't that something? It's pretty crazy to think about. Glad to be back with you, Kyle. A lot more fun to be here on a Sunday night after a big win. But we got lots to talk about.
Got lots to talk about, as we always do tonight. The Auburn experience is wide and vast, even if we just stick with the sports element of it. And boy, oh boy, let's not even mince words here. First of all, a little bit of housekeeping for you all. We are on episode 99, as we just addressed. So that means there's a pretty big one coming up this time. Well, actually, let's just say next Sunday. Let me just go ahead and let you guys know we are working on something hopefully quite special for that. Some details to work out, some things we're trying to get to fall into place. Stay tuned. What you probably can expect is an earlier show, kind of like we've done when we've been on campus together, probably around the 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time ballpark. Y'all gonna have to be very patient with us because we're trying to pull off something special for this episode 100. But just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping for you all before we dive into those things. But get excited, because we've been talking about this for a long time, Austin. 100 episodes, and it's just around the corner. Can you believe it?
100 episodes coming up next week. Hopefully all the details will be worked out. We'll see what happens. But it'll be an entertaining one nonetheless. So another home weekend. We couldn't have planned it any better for it to be on the home weekend after all this time. So it's pretty great.
I'd like to say that we completely planned on this, but it kind of just fell together. And then we realized, we can pull this off at the exact same time we're coming back home for the first time this football season in a month. All right, let's dive into a few different topics here. We got Auburn potpourri. Let's start off at the top with this particular topic, and we're going to talk about an Auburn legend and an SEC legend now. His name is Marcus McNeil. Most of you who have been around for a while will know that name and how prominent, how dominant he was for Auburn's offensive line in the early to mid 2000s when he was here. And yes, part of that undefeated 2004 team, which might I add will be a little bit of a celebration during the Vanderbilt game. And we'll get to talk about that a little bit more next week, I'm sure. But Marcus McNeil has been officially nominated and named an SEC legend for Auburn for this year's class. I don't think this is a shock in any way that at some point, Austin, he would be nominated, but it's very special that on the year we're celebrating that 2014 that he gets named for, and let's be honest, at a position that gets forgotten about a lot. The offensive line position, really great guy.
Absolutely. Really cool for him. Really excited. Great ambassador of Auburn. It's kind of crazy to think about that those guys in the mid to late 2000s are now up for SEC legend nominations. Makes you feel a little bit old, but pretty cool to see for him. And yeah, I don't know how that process works. I hope Auburn kind of nominates and the SEC approves. But if Auburn did that and nominated him on this 20-year anniversary of the 04 team, it's very deserving and very cool. How about that SEC logo too? Can we go back to that?
Oh, that's
some good stuff right there.
Look at that. That is like old school. Clint Richardson is salivating right now.
Watching the Russell jersey. Oh, man,
the Russell jersey, the good old days. We're talking good old days in terms of players, logos, jerseys, brands, all on that. It just feels good to be talking about those good old days. And Marcus McNeil, who played for the Chargers. If I remember correctly, his time was a little bit shortened in the NFL because of injuries and things like that. But I remember how highly regarded he was here at Auburn, how highly regarded he was when he first got to the Chargers. He will always be one of those names that maybe you don't talk about right off at the start because it's offensive line. You get it. But Cadillac, Ronnie, Kenny Irons, all those guys do not have the success that they have without guys like Marcus McNeil. So congratulations to him. Let's move over to basketball for a little bit here. And obviously the season's just around the corner. We will be doing some predictions here at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But we have already had a preseason game, which traditionally doesn't happen this way, Austin. It's usually a closed practice game that you kind of hear about through the beat writers and things like that, even if they're not able to attend. But this is actually a cool moment. Auburn versus Furman for a couple of reasons here, because not only was it an actual game played in an arena with an audience, if you wanted to go in Bon Secours something over there in Greenville, South Carolina, if you wanted to, you could watch Auburn and Furman play this today. We're recording this on a Sunday in a preseason game. The other cool storyline is that JP Pegues came from Furman. So, our new point guard came from there, a shiny new point guard came over there. So a nice little connection there. This is for charity. Austin, does this feel weird that we're already kind of diving into a preseason game, like what should have been a closed practice?
Yeah, it is weird. These are typically things where it's reserved for an exhibition where it doesn't really count, but you're still getting the team on the court running up and down a little bit. I like this kind of trend of doing these little more high profile games, but doing it for a good cause. Today was for charity. I'm not sure the cause exactly, so I apologize. But Auburn has FAU coming up, a huge initiative by Bruce Pearl of a charity game too. So really cool, really good opportunity for the players to get some reps in. Sounds like Auburn did pretty well and got to figure out some combinations. So it feels early to be talking about basketball, but it's pretty cool.
It is really cool because it's just unique because we don't get to talk about hardcore scores and stuff like that. Normally, this is an 83-62 win, so a 21-point margin that Auburn takes the win today. Obviously, one of the more exciting things is this is your first real action for some of this new talent, whether we're talking about Ja'Kai Howard, talking about Tahad Pettiford. We've talked about tip-off at Tumors, where he had a great showing with a dunk contest. This is a shot of him here from Auburn's photo crew, Zach Bland, him going up and getting a nice dunk off. It sounds like he had a great game. I think he had 10 points. He was in double digits. Both the new guys were in double digits. So which one are you more excited about, Austin, already with these two already in one preseason game?
Yeah, look, I'm going to be really hard-pressed not to be excited about Tahad Pettiford. I think he fits Auburn well. I think his drive and his physical competitive drive, as well as his drive on the basketball court, is going to fit Auburn's offense well and being that true point guard. I think or even off the ball guard is something I think Auburn has lacked and needs. I'm really excited for him. Trying to pump the brakes a little bit,
man.
Just a freshman, but I'm really excited about Pettiford. I'm excited about all these lineups. They were Janai and Dylan were on the floor a lot today together. Just figuring out all these assets and talented guys you have together to get to play this year. And today was the first crack at it. It's pretty fun. Miles Kelly didn't even travel, or he didn't even play. So that's another piece that didn't even get on the court today. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And on top, I'm glad you brought that up. Starting lineup today was Janai, was Dylan, Chris Moore, which I know a lot of you are shocked by that, but I'm telling you, y'all don't know about these role players and how important they are to a team. Denver Jones and then JP Pegues. It's not the one that I picked for a starting lineup last week, if you recall. I don't hate it, though. And
don't hate it.
The success obviously showed in one game here. And really quickly, we do want to mention just about how the game went. Obviously, if you kind of read some articles, and especially the one from Auburn Athletics, there was a slow-ish start for the offense, but they definitely got out ahead. But what really shined was the defense here with Chaney Johnson. I believe that's Chaney, if I'm not mistaken, going up and just eating somebody's lunch from Furman. I think this is obviously a staple for Bruce Pearl and his offense. For his defense and his teams as being known to being great defenders. So not a shock there. That's how the game went. That's how, at least just a quick overview of a preseason game. Don't take a lot of stuff with this for just, as a sure thing or one way or the other. It's one preseason game, one more to go. We'll definitely talk about that one when it comes up. I do want to mention on a somewhat related topic, and this is obviously something that we want to discuss just because we like to remind people when opportunities come to watch our guys at the next level. Auburn Athletics put out this graphic this week reminding you of the NBA season starting, who you could be paying attention to. You know your names like Walker Kessler, Isaac Okoro, Jabari Smith. Obviously, we got Chuma Okeke, who just moved over to the Knicks. And then you've got also, depending on, there's a little bit of confusing nature with the graphic, whose name's listed and who's shown on there. But JT Thor and Jalen Williams are at least associated with some of these I call them programs, some of these teams. And so obviously just kind of keep a lookout for them. JT is officially listed on the roster for Cleveland. So two Cavaliers, Austin. For having Auburn Tigers. So that's a reason to check out what's going on in Cleveland. Who are you most excited about to watch this season?
Oh, it's a great question. I think I'm excited to see if Jalen can get his chance to compete with Denver on a regular basis with the big team. Obviously, Denver has had a lot of success in recent years. Won the title last year, 2 years ago, maybe. I don't remember.
Something like that.
But I'm excited to see for what he could do with a lot of talented guys around him. And how can you not love watching Jabari Smith play basketball? So he's coming into year 3, I think is right. And starting to become the real go-to guy for Houston. So it'd be fun to see him even take another step this year.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Walker. I'm also interested to see if Chuma going to a different team gets a little bit more of a, just a fresh start, something, you never know what a change of scenery can do for somebody. But those are your players, obviously, most of them you already knew, to watch in the NBA this season for your Auburn Tigers. That's all the time we've got for Auburn Potpourri this week, but very briefly to round out, I love to remind you guys how our programs that are in session, most of them at least, are doing right now. Equestrian is still 4-0, number 1 in the land, having beaten UT Martin. Cross country is off this week. Volleyball is on a little bit of a slide right now. Yeah. I know. It's getting a little, it's a rough slide for them at this point.
Yeah.
Still good though. 14-6. Losses for LSU at USC today. Soccer also struggling with some ties and things like that, but still overall a great record. 12-1-4. Did lose a game today to USC. And swimming and diving, the men did lose, but the women won at UNC in a dual meet this week. So that is your roundup of news, of action for Auburn Tigers sports. Now let's talk about the big stuff. Let's dive into football, Austin. I know how rough it has been for all of us these past couple of weeks.
Just stop the game after 3. Wait a minute.
Hey, now. Yes, folks, we played a very rough first quarter, but we played a complete game. My goodness. Auburn defeats Kentucky 24-10. I have had to atone for this, Austin, thousands of times at this point, based off of our reaction stream about how dare I not only pick us to lose to Kentucky to start off the year, but how dare you pick Auburn to lose 21-20 as your final score prediction for this game. Remind me, what was your prediction?
I picked us to win this game. I picked at the beginning of the year, I picked us to win this game. I picked us to lose at Missouri, but I picked us to win this game. I remember us going back and forth on these two. And to your credit, we both said that either one of these could go now. We didn't know what all we were in for, but we did. I did pick this game to win, and I did think about that late last night.
How nice is it that we're all not just sitting here talking about what's not working and things like that? Look, it wasn't a perfect game. It's obviously still got some things that didn't go well, but folks, focus on what you haven't had, and that is a team putting together an SEC road win. Not only just your first SEC, as Austin's throwing up the
he's not throwing up. You got to finish that sentence.
Well, yeah.
People are listening, wondering if I'm puking over here.
Leave it to the imagination. That's the beauty of sometimes listening to the audio. Obviously, just celebrate the win here, folks. That's really what we want to do. Let's start with the celebration, and I don't think we can go any further without talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the beast mode, Jarquez, the Manhunter. My goodness, what a day! Was it 287 yards, Austin?
78, I think. 278 yards, like 22 carries, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he had a day. Everyone's been asking him to get more carries. Everyone's been asking Auburn to feed him the rock more, and that they did. Now, I want to say I totally get people saying, I told you we should have been doing this, did it all the time. And to the coaching staff's credit, and we heard after the first quarter, Coach Freeze tell the sideline reporter, we thought we could throw the ball. We just need to run the ball. And I think with context, that line of thinking makes a lot of sense, because this Kentucky defense, its cream and crop was its rush defense, giving up only 100 yards a game. A lot of people had success through the air on them. It turned out pretty quickly that wasn't working, and they'd gotten better in the air, but maybe lacked some on the rushing. And so I think that it was a really good job by the Auburn offensive staff to adjust and see what they can do by establishing the run. And like we've said many times, that opens up a can of worms, and you have the ability to do so much more by establishing the run. And boy, did they establish it. Jarquez Hunter was ready. He just wanted you to keep feeding him, and he was a man on a mission last night when Auburn needed him most to get a road SEC win. Really, really impressive job by him.
It felt like this was a moment for Jarquez to kind of release all that, probably frustration, but tension as well, because this is a game I think we all saw the potential in him. He's had great games before. I think he may even had maybe one 200-yard rushing game, like back when he first arrived here. I'm probably wrong on that, but I feel like that's somewhere in my memory somewhere. But this is his best game. Is this? I mean, I'm saying that. Do you agree with that? This is his best.
No, this is his best game as an Auburn Tiger. And the performance itself, plus what it adds to his career totals, puts him up with all the best backs in Auburn's history, which is a good list. So just really, really, really impressive night by him. I really think this could help springboard, and we look back and see this moment as Auburn decided Jarquez Hunter and the rushing attack is their identity. Because Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb had good nights too. It wasn't like it was just Jarquez and nobody else could run the ball. Now, Jarquez had an incredible night, but the rushing attack and by default, the rushing plan for the offensive line was really good last night. Execution was fantastic. So I hope that maybe this kind of formed and shaped Auburn's offensive identity a little more. We'll see how it goes next week and in the weeks following.
You talk about like storylines and trajectories, and obviously you had two teams that now hold the same record on conference and overall because of the result of this game, but two teams going in opposite directions currently at this point in the season. So it's not just a storyline. It's not just somebody trying to be a sunshine pupper, folks. There was some things to be excited about with this team. Does it mean that the troubles are done? No, but it does mean that you can see that there are pieces of a good team here, and sometimes it just doesn't come together exactly when you need it to. This was a great performance by Jarquez, great performance in the run game, great adjustments by the coaches. Really can't be really upset any further than that, because that's the most exciting part of the game. The other elements that I want to talk about this, and I think it's important to look at the holistic thing here. We have got to give some credit to our defense, our defensive coordinator. Look, Brock Vandergrift did not have a great night. Their quarterback they brought in as a change of pace guy ran a little bit more. Clearly is not ready for the big stage either, even at home. I'm not going to sit here and act like they had everybody healthy either, but we've seen, I think, a year so far, even in the lowest points, where DJ Durkin, this defense, and frankly, as pictured here, where if those of you watching live, young players like Kayin Lee showing up and showing out. Kayin Lee secures the win on a final gas drive for them with an interception at the goal line. And if he stays in bounds, he runs that back for a pick six. So you got to give credit not only to Jarquez, to the adjustments by the coaching staff on offense, but to this defense who continues to give the offense opportunities to figure it out.
Yeah, no, you're right. When you look at the defensive youth on this team, you have to be excited. And we've said that before when people are calling for change in leadership. You have to look at where the youth is on this team and see that they are built for the future. It's not immediate gratification. That is not how the world works, but it's certainly not how this rebuild is going to happen. So to see guys like Kayin Lee, Jay Crawford, Keldrick Falk continue to dominate. I'm missing somebody that had big plays last night, but just
Crawford. I know. It's right on the tip of my tongue too, but you made your point. So many to talk about.
I mean, just guys that are stepping up when they need them, and Auburn's putting them out there because they've shown that they can play. Just a really good job by the defense. So I'll give up 10 points in the first quarter. Really looked like it was going to have to be an offensive shootout for Auburn to win. But for those guys to be able to be on the field when it matters, even at their age, to step up and shut them out the rest of the way, shut down whoever was playing quarterback. Really the only offense Kentucky had was crazy circus catches by, I think Key was their receiver's name. And so if you got to give those up when they happen, that's just going to happen when he's a talented guy like that. But my goodness, what an insane night for Auburn's defense and the young guys. I love that picture we showed because of DJ Durkin running. I can't believe it wasn't flagged, and so but I don't care. I think that and I don't want to get into the bigger picture of it really because it doesn't matter at this point. But that for all that was worried about DJ Durkin, that picture right there shows me a lot about what he views in his players and how the players respond to him. So that was really cool. And as much of the night as it was about Jarquez Hunter, it was a big night for them too.
That's a great point. I love that you brought that up about the defense, DJ Durkin. And I love this picture too. Another picture from Zach Bland of the Auburn staff. The team celebrating. This is, I believe, Keandre Lambert-Smith. I think that's 5 covered up there with that guy's hand who's not wearing a shirt. But just celebrating the fans, celebrating the team. It's just a feeling of relief, right? This is a team that has been there at the cusp every single time. So my question to you, Austin, if I have to put you on the spot, is this the thing that pushes this team over the hump? I'm not saying they go undefeated. That's not what I'm asking you, but will this team be different going forward in a positive direction for the most part?
Yeah, they should, right? They should. I think you see that they found some offensive identity, which has plagued them all year. You've got a stretch here in the next 2 weeks, or I guess 3 weeks because there's another bye. Don't go about it. I was going to glaze on over it. But you got Vanderbilt at home, a bye, then I think there's it Louisiana Monroe, and then a bye.
It would be Vandy, bye to the byes. Lamo.
We got a bye before Louisiana Monroe. Anyway, Vandy, Louisiana Monroe. Hey, Louisiana Monroe's a good team this year, by the way. So we're not sleeping. Vandy, Louisiana Monroe, and then you got 2 ranked games, which looks like A&M might be playing in Atlanta. It's going to be a huge game. You take care of business the next 2 weeks, you might get your night SEC game against A&M, and my goodness, we all want that. So we'll see. I think Auburn's in a position, and we're all optimistic more than they have at other times this year about seeing if they can make a bowl game. So we'll see. I do want to say one thing about offensive identity I didn't cover. I know we all love to dump on Peyton Thorne. If you want to keep doing that, that's fine. I will say this too. Sorry to interject, but if you continue to do it after you've already made your point, you're kind of revealing more about yourself than you are revealing about Peyton Thorne. Sorry, I'm just going to throw that in there. Bad first couple of drives. Nobody's sugarcoating that. Interception, not good. You look at the stats, and most of you won't because it doesn't align with your narrative about what you want to say about Peyton Thorne. I think you finished 15 of 16 the rest of the way. When you establish something like a running identity like Jarquez Hunter did, which, to your credit, hasn't happened a lot this year, it opens up so much more freedom for a guy to be relaxed, for a guy to be able to make plays like Peyton Thorne did. Because the rest of the way, he was a pretty dang good quarterback. So I'm not saying that he's perfect. I'm not saying that he's everything we've all wanted him to be this year. But I don't think that you can really voice your opinions too loudly as you'd like to when you actually look at the numbers and how Peyton Thorne did last night. If that is what it's going to take for Auburn to win games, I'm taking that out of Peyton Thorne.
And I say this too, not as a shot at him, but I think maybe the results speak to this. I think Peyton Thorne is in his best position when he's not forced to do too much. And sometimes that's an okay thing that you're not, he has felt like, I feel like at times, I said a lot of things there. I feel like he has been in a position and felt like he's in a position to try to have to do too much, which is force some things that shouldn't have to be forced.
Yes.
So you see what
part of that might be on him. Part of that might be on play calling coaches. But whatever, it looks like Auburn might have found an identity where they can make all those things work together. Now it's October 26th or 27th. It's a little too late to have found that out, but you still have plenty of time left in this season to maybe make that count. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's important because you brought it up. Potentially, if Auburn can find a way to take care of business leading up to that Texas A&M game, a ranked game for a team that may be playing for Atlanta, the Iron Bowl, and maybe, just maybe, sliver of hope, a bowl game. Folks, it's going to be exciting into the season.
Yeah.
Buckle up, to quote a coach that probably, never mind. I'm going too far. Just enjoy it right now. It was good till then. All right. Let's dive a little bit further. Let's switch gears. Talking about football. Basketball is just around the corner. I will admit, Austin, that I thought we would do this next week, but given the significant nature of next week's episode, we are going to be just inundated, most likely, either just with reminiscing and having some fun, and obviously try to handle some normal business too, that we need to make sure we spend this week doing it. Auburn basketball season begins on November 6th. Officially, we talked a little bit pre-show about the preseason first game against Furman. We will probably mention at least the preseason game that'll happen on Friday that I will be in attendance at for FAU.
There you go. I didn't know that.
But the season is at hand, which means that I have got to put myself as well, but Austin on the spot too, to talk a little bit about predictions, previews. Let's dive into it. So what we're going to do is definitely walk through the schedule a little bit. It's going to take us way too long to go game by game and do it that way. So we're going to do it kind of in blocks. But what I would like to start off with, Austin, taking an overview of this right now. What type of team would you say that Auburn men's basketball is currently, based on what you think you know about this team? And to be more specific, are they a tournament team? And if they are, how far in do you think, based on what you think you know, we should expect these Tigers to go?
Yeah, based on what I think I know, I think this team's going to play a really aggressive defense. I think they have veterans all over the team. They've played in a lot of big games. I think they've got an offensive competency about them. But I think that when you look at what this team specializes in, it's a variety of things where it's all kind of even across the board. It might not be elite at everything, but
sure.
But there's a solid level of expectation at each position. I think that they're going to be really aggressive on defense. Defense will be their bread and butter. The three-point shot might take time to develop, but it'll come, as we saw last year. So I think this team is definitely a tournament team. I think from what I know right now, they have the capability to win 2 games in the tournament and make it the Sweet 16. I think that is a reasonable expectation.
Yep.
I think that this has the potential. I'm not going to say it's the best, but it has the potential to be Bruce's best team since 2019, and has playmakers up and down the lineup. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this team gels. That will be the big key for me throughout this tough non-conference schedule, is how they gel, how you know who works with who works where on the court. But I think this team can be a Sweet 16 and second weekend team in the tournament.
I agree with you, but not even so much about the team, but I like to think about where the program is currently at under the leadership. And when you've had Bruce here as long as you have, you can make some very safe and strong assumptions about what the expectation should be. And I do agree that this program has reached a point where they
Bruce's 10th year.
Oh, is it 10 years already?
It was my first. Yeah, it's 10 years.
It's got to be longer than 10 years at this point.
You know what? We were freshmen at the same time.
We just celebrated 10 years of E2C Network. So, and that's there it is. So it's at least 10, 11, something in there. I think this program should be expected to reach a Sweet 16 every year, outside of it, other factors not coming into play. I'm not ready to say that this team is an Elite 8 team, although some rankings and polls, which we talked about last week, tend to show you that they might be right there on the cusp of it. We'll see. We're going to get tested early. Let's talk about how they're going to get tested early. This is your non-conference schedule for your Tigers. Just as a quick overview: Vermont, Houston. That is a neutral site game, but in Houston. At home versus Kent State. At home versus North Alabama. We will go to the Maui Invitational, where we will first start with Iowa State, who is currently ranked number 5.
I guess we don't have like the other games on.
We don't have the other, but there will be misleading. There will be 2 other games there with probably very good teams, especially if Auburn wins that first game. Then you come home to the States, what do they call it? The continental United States. Had to go into the big words there. And then you've got to go to Cameron Indoor at Duke. Come home for Richmond. Go to Atlanta to take on Iowa State. come home to Georgia
Ohio
State.
State.
Oh, did I do that? Ohio.
It's okay.
The Ohio State too. Don't get that wrong.
We don't have to go that far.
Georgia State at home, Purdue and Birmingham, back home from Monmouth, and then we'll get into SEC right here. I'll leave it up, Austin, for now, so you can kind of look at it. Let's do it. Let's divide it in half here. Do the Maui Invitational, because there's 2 other games going to be listed there. What is your record coming out of the Maui Invitational? That would be a total of 6 games. No, sorry, that would be 7 games. Am I doing my math?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 7 games.
Okay, what do you got?
I'm gonna say they are 5-2.
5-2.
So I'm gonna go pessimistic. I'll say 4-3.
4-3. So I'm assuming losses at Houston and a couple at Maui.
Yes, 1 win at Maui, and then I'm gonna say you lose the Iowa State game. Based off what I know now, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know anything about Iowa State right now. I'm gonna say we lose Iowa State, win the next one, lose the third one.
I'm gonna say that we go. That Houston game is also important for the prospects for this team in terms of knowing where they're at currently.
It is and it isn't. Yes.
But what I mean is identity, where you're at. It really will show both Houston and Auburn what they have to do to make the rest of their year what they want it to be. And it could be very good. It could be very bad. It's a little like the Baylor game up in, was it North Dakota?
The first weirdest thing ever.
I kind of liked it. I'm not going to lie. And it was a fun game too, which Auburn should have won in that one. I'm going to go with what you originally said. I'm going to say 5-2.
I can see it.
I wouldn't be shocked if we lost to Houston on the road, since it's going to be basically a home game for them. I do think there will be at least 1 loss in Maui, or it could be we beat Houston and then, and then in Maui take 2 losses against that very, very talented field, as it always is. So second half here, you got Duke, Richmond, Ohio State, Georgia State, Purdue, Monmouth. It doesn't get much easier. What do you think about this here in terms of your record?
Yeah, I think I'll say 5-1. I don't know which one quite, but I feel pretty confident. I'm going to say 5-1 with the idea likely of Duke, but I feel pretty good about Purdue in Birmingham, and I think that those offensive styles will be pretty different. That will tend to lean toward Auburn's favor, but I'm going to say 5-1. I'm not too worried about the Ohio State Atlanta game. We've seen how Auburn shows out in Atlanta before. So 5-1 on the back half, I think, for me, which I said, 4-3, 5-1. I'll say 9-4. Easy math.
Yeah, 13 games. You did the math. Look at you. You're much better than I am. I have similar thoughts here. I do think we're going to take a loss to either Duke or to Purdue. To Purdue. But the fact is, just like with the Houston game, it's going to be basically a home game for Auburn. We know the response that's already been shown with the tickets there. By the way, if you ever want to get your tickets and support us, go through our link. We don't have a link, but you use our code E2C Network on SeatGeek. First time offer. Use a different email. And you can help support us. And you can. I probably am going to get in trouble for doing that one day.
Everybody does that.
I know it, but I probably shouldn't do it as much as I should. Anyway, I will say that we go in that back half there with 1 loss, which would bring me, if you said 9-4, that would bring me to 10-3.
I could see both. Yeah.
Non-conference play. All right. Let's try to remember those as we move.
I'd be happy with both too.
Oh yeah. If you come out of the Maui Invitational, Duke, Purdue, I'm even throwing the game in Atlanta in there because who knows? Ohio State could be a dark horse team this year. In Houston, and then the mid-majors that Bruce's schedules usually are not tournament teams or previous conference champions, what have you.
Yep.
That's all on the table. That's an impressive year. It's going to be a fun but difficult non-conference schedule. So,
oh boy,
SEC, if you want to talk about difficult. Very quickly here, home versus Missouri, at Texas, at South Carolina, home versus Mississippi State, at Georgia, home for Tennessee, at LSU, at Ole Miss, and let's stop here, versus Oklahoma. I know that's a lot to dive. Yeah. I know, but we're trying to keep our time. We're trying to be better about our time for you guys this year, or we're doing our best
this year.
This
next in our next 100.
In our next 100, we'll be try to be better time managers on the show. Probably some people want us to talk longer. I would be shocked at that, but it wouldn't surprise me. Okay. Austin, bite this up for me as best you can. Chew it up for me. What you think?
Yeah, I'm trying. It's the SEC schedule so much harder because, like, it's so much further away than what you'll know about this team, right? Like, we will, by January 4th, when the first game against Missouri happens, we'll know so much more. But I guess in that first half, I'm gonna go with. I'm trying to count up my wins, count up my losses. I think I'm gonna say. How many games is that overall?
It's
Total?
18. Oh, there's going to be 18 total games. I think we got it at 9
So is
in
that
this
9?
first step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I'm gonna generously. I'll say. Gosh, I don't like this, Kyle.
I know. I'm putting you on the spot in a rough way.
I want to say 6-3, but I'm gonna say 7-2. I think that the early half of that SEC schedule has some weaker opponents. Missouri is on there. Mississippi State has struggled. They had a good end to the year last year. Lost a lot of guys. LSU has struggled in recent years. But it's the away games, I think, that worry me on there, just because Auburn has a slower start on the road, is a traditional team, but then you've also got big home matchups in there. So I'm going to say 7-2. I'm not sure I can pick out which ones are on there, but that's my gut says 7-2. I wanted to say 6-3, but I'm going to feed into my orange and blue glasses.
I think you're probably looking at Texas there. I think, Ole Miss could be the
Tennessee's
ranked.
there.
Tennessee's
Ole Miss
there.
is always playing over there is odd. Yeah, there's a lot of facets in there.
I know how tough it is to win on the road, folks. I mean, like
Right.
we should, if that's not evident to you in college basketball, you're not watching college basketball. And that's in the we're talking about SEC here too. So I think that Texas game, I'm preparing myself for a very early SEC loss, which I think some people would argue if this is even worth making an argument about, but it kind of gets the monkey off your back a little bit.
Sure.
Takes that pressure of, going undefeated and all that kind of stuff. But hey, I'll take it if we want to go into Austin against that team and win. I think 7-2 is plausible. And I'm similar to you. I want to pick a third loss there, but I'm scared what our record might be if I pick 3 losses here.
Yeah.
So I think I'm barning a little bit here. So I will go with you on that 7-2. So I continue to be just one win ahead of you in the overall thus far. So let's look at the back half of the SEC. Again, I'm throwing a lot at you.
Yeah.
This is Florida, at Vanderbilt, at Alabama, and then home for Arkansas with Calipari. Georgia, Ole Miss at home. Those were 3 in a row at home. At Kentucky, at A&M. My gosh.
So wait, okay. We're starting it with Oklahoma or with Florida?
I'm sorry. Oklahoma was in the last one, I believe.
Yes.
If I wasn't, we're starting with Florida. I mean, let me put it to you this way without even saying names. Number 21, number 2, number 16, number 24, number 23, number 13, number 2 again. That is your preseason rankings for the back half of your SEC schedule.
Golly.
Austin, do we get out of this back half with a positive record?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm gonna go with what I originally wanted to go with. I think I'm gonna go 6-3 here. I'm feeling a little optimistic, but the way I look at it is, you look at that those 2 Bama games are in this slate. I think you're splitting those. I think the home crowds for each are too big, but I also think that you look at those and you see just traditionally they've split, whether it be the road team wins both or the home team wins both. I'm going to say a split there. I know they're ranked 2. I don't really care. I think that Auburn's home games on this slate are big. Florida, Arkansas, and Georgia. Those are all very good teams, but I like Neville Arena, the Nev, and the Jungle with these. And then I see Vanderbilt. We're going to win in that monstrosity of a place. And then it's Kentucky and A&M for me, the 2 road games in the year. So it might be a disappointing end to the year with Auburn on the back half, because those last 3 are just gigantic. But I think that they'll get away with 6-3. That puts me overall in the SEC at 13-5. I would take that right now. Let me mash the button. I think that gets you a a first round bye, or you don't get to the top 4. But well, I guess it's gonna be a totally different bracket this year, actually.
Yeah.
But you get to the second day. So I think 13-5. That's probably barning a little too hard, but I'm gonna go with 13-5. Let me do the math on what I said earlier. 9-4. That'd be, oh gosh, 22-9. Are we? I don't know. We'll see. 22-9. That's what I'm locked in.
You think that's a little high?
Maybe. It's a rough schedule to not have double-digit losses.
Yeah.
But it seems good. This team is good. Veteran players. 22-9. Hey, that's what I locked in. That's what everybody just heard me say. So
I think it's a little high.
I think it might be, but I'm there.
I'm very worried. I'm very worried about this back half of this SEC.
Oh yeah.
Texas A&M, we can't win at Rupp these days. I know they've got a new head coach.
Sure, but it's Rupp.
That's 2 losses for us right there.
Agreed.
At Alabama, I think the split's going to happen. I'm not going to predict we're going to lose to Alabama at home at the end of the season, especially if we lose the last 2 road games back to back and then have Alabama at home. We're going to be hyped up for that one. Aiden Holloway's coming back, all that stuff. So that's 3 losses I feel very confident in right there. I got to think there's going to be a 4th one there somewhere, maybe even at home. Florida. I mean, Todd Golden's a good coach.
Sure.
It's the SEC.
Arkansas will have Cal coming in.
I think there's got to be 4 in there. Which, how many losses did you say here in this back half?
3.
I feel comfortable there. Which, you know what I'm gonna do.
You're gonna go 4-5.
Part of me wants to be contrarian just for the sake of a good show, but I am very worried about that back half. I'm gonna say 4-5. I'm going to say 4-5, which technically
that puts us at 11-7 in the league, 21-10.
10.
Yeah.
So
21-10.
Because you were 22-9.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 21-10 on the year, 22. And I think
you know what? I'd still take it.
I'd take it, given the non-conference schedule and the SEC this year. Based on what we currently think we know, all of that to say this, you may have a team that's 21-10 in my prediction, 22-9, and they may be a lot better just simply because of who they played. Folks,
it'll be a battle-tested team. I still think 21-10 gets you to the second day or start the conference tournament on the second day. I don't like to use this comparison. Nobody does on this side of the state, but this is the blueprint of what they did last year. They went through absolutely crazy schedule, didn't have a great record, still played pretty well, and found out who they were and made the Final Four. I'm not saying that's going to happen for Auburn, but I think that is a eye-opening experience and not a crazy thought or plan for Bruce to have this year. So we'll see.
And, they have one of our players, and, it could be the reverse of this year because they have that issue. So
that's right.
All that. I mean, he was sold dreams and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that dream will become a nightmare over there in Tuscaloosa. Anyway, obviously we have put ourselves in the record for this upcoming season. We're excited to talk about it, folks, because college basketball, if y'all been here at E2C Network for a while, you know how much I love to watch it, talk about it, and just dive headfirst into an amazing sport. All right. That's episode 99. We made it all the way through the double digits of the Auburn Experience podcast, folks. Thank you for tuning in with us. Please stay tuned this week as we get closer. We will hope to have things ironed out for you for episode 100. Thank you so much for sticking with us for this long. We are incredibly grateful for each and every one of you that watch live, listen live, or watch the replay or listen to the audio portion of this podcast. Continue to help us grow that little family within the Auburn family as much as you can by spreading the word, where if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. If you want to keep up with me, do so on X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, X, whatever. How am I still getting that wrong?
That's fine.
It's for so long. Whatever. Yeah, hope you all keep up with us. It's going to be a fun week next week, hopefully. Stay tuned in, and we'll see if Kyle and I can pull something else off.
We'll do it. We'll, find a way to pull it out of, the back end of something unlike the football team's been doing most this year, but
right.
had to get one last shot in there because we had such a good week this week. That's episode 99. Thank you again. Until we talk to you again. War Eagle.
War Eagle.
All right, folks, that's the show. Thank you so much for sticking around. Austin, final thoughts for you before I start talking to the folks.
Can we just ask for guesses of what people think we might be trying to do next week? I just want to see what they're even thinking.
What do you think? While they're what do you guys think we're doing next week?
I'm not confirming or denying anything.
Right.
I just want to put that. I'm like, what do they think we're capable of or not capable of?
Yeah, that'd be they're capable of a lot of bad things. By the way, I want you to, if you can, I don't know on your screen if you can see WT's new
I've seen him.
image. It's
I didn't even notice yet. War Dustbuster. That's pretty good.
That's the t-shirt that he alone owns. Like that's his thing.
Pretty good. It's pretty good. I saw him saying I had an unfair advantage of picking the SEC schedule because I know what games I'm going to.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. That's a good one.
It's a pretty good one.
We got no guesses. I think we've got them stumped. Maybe they'll think about it and let me know as we continue to talk a little bit. But
yeah, maybe they will. I'm sure they'll fix. Everyone will be really surprised to see that I've overcome my fear of birds when I'm holding Nova. Oh, I didn't mean to say that.
Oh wow, jeez. We got the most. Here's the guess. The most generic, a special location.
Wow, you really went out on a limb there, Bryant. So.
I mean, he's like, how can I say the most without saying anything at all? But he did give us a guess.
That's decent.
We'll see.
All right.
We're just going to, you know what the real surprise is? We're done at episode 99. No more.
Yeah. You guys are going to be sitting here waiting next week telling us we're late and we're never coming back.
Oh. All right, buddy. Thanks for hanging out.
All right, man. See y'all.
War Eagle. All right, folks. Stick around for a little bit here. I think we had a few technical difficulties during the show with some internet connection. It seemed like at some time it was cutting. It was like jerking a little bit. I think I don't know if it was more on Austin's end or anything like that. So let me know if you guys experienced any of that. I always want to know about that kind of stuff, especially when we get to this part of the show so we can address it if it needs to be. Anyway, comments, questions, Q&A part of the show here to round out what we've been doing here tonight. So this is your opportunity to ask whatever you want. It looks like we had a lot of commentary during the show. So I can't go back through all of it. I might try to look through a few things here. But if there's something that you would like me to further address or anything from earlier in the show, make sure you do it now. But let's cover, as we always do, the details of everything else that we got going on. Obviously, you're here on Wednesday night, but you know, if you've been a regular, to be here on, Sunday night, to be here on Wednesday nights for Auburn Family Night, some people's favorite night of the week. I love it. I think it's probably my favorite overall night of the week because I get to do this, but no agenda. Call-in show, join us. We will be talking about anything and everything Auburn, and definitely excited to do that again with you all this week. Once again, we will have a Thursday night preview show, and I will be in Auburn this weekend, as we've kind of addressed, and we'll give you updates on that Sunday episode 100 live stream as details hopefully get fleshed out in the early part to mid part of this week. So stay tuned for that. As always, as we mentioned, help support us by supporting Alumni Hall. You can go to our link in our YouTube description, and there will be one link that leads you to all the links that you will ever need. One of those is to Alumni Hall. If you go to there and buy something with them, it gives us a little bit of a kickback as an affiliate of theirs. It's a great way to support us and support them by getting yourself some good Auburn gear. Okay. So that's all the boilerplate stuff. Let's see what you guys are interested in talking about. David, War Eagle to you, sir. He is always faithful with that. All right, this is I asked for you guys just a couple of hiccups, but nothing took away from the show. Yeah. So was it like just jerking in and out, or was it him freezing or stuff like that? I may make some suggestions to him the next time if we ever do a show from his house again about how he can help with that. But thank you for giving me that feedback, WT. That is always helpful. Elston says, why didn't Miles Kelly play? Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't looked into this all that much. I think he was there. Maybe. I could be wrong. But he didn't participate in the tip-off at Toomers because he was reportedly ill. I don't know if he's still dealing with that in any way. That is a possibility. I think sometimes we always jump to conclusions and panic and feel like that there was a ton of something else we're not being told about. But for whatever reason, he is currently not playing or participating. I don't know why that is. It would make sense if he is ill to not travel to a preseason game where if you're not going to play, you might as well stay home and get well. And that's traditional. Usually if somebody is sick, I can forget who it was. Even last season, I think somebody was sick and was one of our main players and they didn't travel to the game because you don't want to carry that around with people. So it could be as simple as that. I don't know. I haven't investigated it. I'm sure we'll find out soon enough if that's something that needs to be addressed or not. We got our good friend Randy, one of the good dog folks here. Thanks for stopping by, Randy. Anything else that we haven't talked about? Devin says, I think someone said Miles Kelly had a minor injury. So if he's had a sickness that kept, or injury, maybe that's what it was. I thought it was a sickness. But he is having a rough start to his Auburn career, if that's the case. David says, I think the 2-minute timeout before halftime killed our momentum. We went fast 2 plays before and we're gashing them. So you're talking about the debacle of ending the first half. Yeah, that was pretty bad. I said this on the reaction stream yesterday that everybody jumps to their preferred narrative. I don't agree with the narrative that it was bad coaching necessarily. I also don't agree with the narrative that it was Peyton's fault. I think, and holistically, it's always somebody's fault, right? If you're involved in the play at some level, it is partially your fault. I think it was just the worst thing that could happen in the situation. If anything, if he doesn't get rushed and sacked, then we're not rushing. Then we're not in that situation having to rush out in the field with 14 people. That was the amazing thing for me. I did apologize for that earlier in the show. I did. Stan says, I'd like to see Austin on family night. Well, Austin has to have family night himself. Stan, I think you know this. He has 2 twin boys. So he has a job that actually requires him a lot to be working on weeknights, especially I don't think he would be able to do it during the winter season. Essentially, he works in athletics at the high school level, not necessarily athletics. But he has to be involved, and so that requires a lot from him. So he will not. He has an open invitation to be with me on the E2C Network whenever he wants to. But what I have asked him to always be as much as he can available for is the Auburn Experience show, which is why we love having him here on Sunday nights. I'm glad you guys enjoy him because I know you get tired of looking at my ugly mug and hearing my voice as much as you do. Missed the show last night. Glad AU won. Yeah, it was a little bit of a late one, but we had a celebration, and all in all, I mean, definitely some things that weren't perfect, but not a lot to be super upset about. We dove into, if you missed the part where we talked about it, Neil, with Austin, you can either watch the replay or we'll have the audio out first thing in the morning for you if you want to do it that way. Again, I'd highly encourage you all, if you're not subscribing on audio podcasts, and even if that's not your traditional way, it would be a humongous help for you to do that. Either listen to it again or just play it on fast forward, like silenced. I know that seems like a cheap way to help, but every little bit of those things that you can do does help us continue to grow. It tells the algorithms that we're worth listening to. If you can leave a review, it's a 1 through 5 star thing on Apple Podcasts. I think each little platform's got their way you rate the show. Those are huge helps to us. So I'd highly encourage you to give it a try, but definitely do those if you can. Yes, he has commented on the Wednesday night show because he can tune in on his phone whenever he wants to. And I'm sure he's wanted to chime in before, but hasn't been able to. So Trust me, if Austin wants to be here, he knows he can be here. I would have to say that the most disappointing thing of the UK game was the Thursday show where someone picked AU to lose. He's not going to let this die. As I told you in the Conquer Club chat, I feel that I am taking the role of being a reverse jinx the rest of the year. I might be a little stitious, not superstitious, but just a little stitious. And if that's what it takes for this team to have success the rest of the year, I'm willing to take the heat from y'all here on E2C Network live shows if I have to predict a loss the rest of the way. That's going to be really hard for me to pick a loss at versus Vanderbilt. And I'm not just saying it because it's Vanderbilt. And I know how well they've been playing this year for the most part. Played pretty well against Texas too, for the most part. But it's at home. I'm going to feel the energy, the love, all that stuff. I'm going to want to pick us to win. Lamo's having a good year. I'm going to want to pick that as a win. Texas A&M, man, I'm glad Austin brought that up during the show because I haven't had really time to think about it that way. But if Texas A&M continues on their trajectory, if Auburn can put together a solid next 2 games, 3 weeks with the bye week, and we walk in with a highly ranked and favored Texas A&M team that's looking to go to Atlanta, get that night game to end the year and probably have outstanding weather in late November, mid to late November, folks, we gonna have a good time on the plains. And I mean a good time. In a year that's been frustrating because of results on the field, because of the way the schedule laid out in the heat of September and August, and then not being there in October, that's a pretty dang good way to end the year. If it comes out to be that, I'll be excited to be there no matter what. TAMU has a good coach, has all that talent Jimbo was bringing in, but could not coach them. Here's going to be the interesting thing, Neil. Whether or not, once that talent starts to sift back through, what his program looks like after that. Because I think everybody could make the case that anybody who takes on that talent could have some level of success with it. And I'm not saying he's not a good coach. I'm just saying I think we can acknowledge both things, that he may be a good coach that is benefiting from some great talent. So we'll see. We'll see if it continues there. He says, when you pick against your squad, it can go either way. My community, some appreciate my calling it straight regardless, and others think it's blasphemy to call out and pick against the dogs. I don't like to pick against the team. I don't know that any person who covers a particular team and values them likes to pick against it. I think, yeah, I think he knows that y'all are just having fun with me. But I really am trying to have honest takes and discussion on this and well-rounded thoughts, and not just be a Barner, as people like to call us, and we adopt orange and blue glasses and all that. But it is difficult sometimes. And I should take a longer approach look to that Vanderbilt game this week. But boy, is the orange and blue going to be flowing, being ready to be back home on the plains. It's going to be a good time. Okay. We are right at 10 o'clock. Just a few minutes under an hour since we started, a few minutes late. But thank you guys so much for being here and being here for our special, well, it's always a great episode, but special 99 episode 100 coming up next week. Remember, we will do it early in the day, most likely 2 p.m. Central Time, 3 Eastern. We have a lot that has to get figured out. Some of it's not on our end. Some of it's out of our control, which is why we've had to delay announcing anything about that. But please, please, please do be patient. We will update you as soon as we know. And we're excited about it. So thanks for hanging out tonight, being part of our little family within the Auburn family. We appreciate you all so much. Till I talk to you again, War Eagle.